Hi there. We are live. Welcome to Boston Cannabis Week, day 4. The week is moving right along. Thank you to everybody that has been supportive all week. Please excuse that I'm in a bit of a dark room here. We just had our glass art gallery at Underground Culture, so I'm in the back office just kind of getting things started for you. We have an incredible panel tonight, the cultural relevance of cannabis and music. This is near and dear to my heart because this is where my career exists in cannabis and music. So I am very grateful to everybody for your support. Tonight we have moderating Jimmy Kang, we have panelists Emily Elmen, Brandon Matthews, Ariel Gray, and Lauren Prey. So I'm going to throw it over to Kara, and everybody please enjoy the panel.
Hey everybody, really excited to be here again tonight. This week has been so fun, aside the fact that I get to see so many amazing friends and colleagues virtually, but we also get to share so much of our knowledge about the industry with you. And tonight we sort of go in a different direction because that's an emotional connection, I think, between music and everything music interacts with. So let's look at cannabis in a new light, and let's talk about how it has influenced our lives every day. What are the slogans we say? What are the ways that we interact with each other because of how a musician wrote a song. So Jimmy, thank you so much. So excited to have you moderating this panel. Take it away. I'm excited to watch.
Hey guys, how's it going? For people that don't know me, I'm Jimmy Kang, Vice President of Wu-Tang Management. I also own Exclusives and also Miss Central Massachusetts and Major League Studios out here in Worcester, Massachusetts. Along with that, I'm also the co-host for Cannabis 101 with Lauren Prey. And I do a lot of things in the music game along with the cannabis game. Right now I'm doing Strange Management System with Resonate with Pete to get artists like Styles P, Onyx, Capadonna, Spliff Star, Big Nate All-Star Strains. And today in our panel, we have Lauren Prey, which is my co-host for Cannabis 101, 97.9 FM, Unity Radio, and also co-host for Bob Lavelle podcast. And she was an intern at KISS FM. And along with that, she's been working in the cannabis industry for over 2 years straight in white labeling and working at companies. And we got Emily Evelyn, which spoke last year at the Boston Freedom Rally, degree from Berkeley in music management and skilled vocalist. She has also spent the last 7 years supporting and navigating the cannabis industry development in Mass. And she's on the Coyote Cannabis Corporation team with Blake Mensing, active consulting, building infusion kitchens. And, if you want to hire, you could hire her for consultation. And we also got Brandon Matthews, co-founder of Urban Development Media Platform, Killer Boombox, and Director of Marketing for Show Off Marketing, which is a great guy. I've known him for a long time. He does a lot of big things. And we also got Ariel Gray, which arts engagement producer for the Artery, WBUR's Arts and Culture team. She manages the Artery's social media events and does the content addition to being multimedia journalist who uses journalism and graphic arts to tell the stories of undeserved voices. So we got a really, really good panel today. So for today, we'll start with Brandon, which I haven't talked with in a while. So Brandon.
What's going on, man? How are you?
I'm great. So how you been, man?
I can't complain, man. Same as everybody else, trying to navigate all the, changes in the world and try to keep business afloat and still, do our due diligence on the media side and making sure, marketing is still handled because there's so many things that, we're not able to do now. So really just kind of navigating that space.
Right. And people don't understand in music, marketing is one of the most important things. So, you got the big man's job.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I thought was going to suffer at some point this year, but you know, one thing that actually usually doesn't is marketing, and something that we all need. So it's been, you know, really cool, you know, both on things that I've done and also things that I've been able to watch, you know, seeing over the last year, on top of even just on the other years where, you know, people are starting to get really, really creative now. It's really cool to see. So I'm excited to see what other challenges may be presented for some people and what things that they come up with that are going to knock out all these challenges.
Nice, nice. And you know, how important was cannabis while you're working on your music?
I mean, I don't necessarily work on music, but it's definitely something that plays a strong role. I mean, on top of the fact that it is something that does create a mood in certain environments, whether it be in the studio or, you know what I'm saying, or a certain type of station or something like that. Like, I don't think it's necessarily contributed to things on my end, just because I kind of have to always be very, very alert in regards to what I'm doing. But I mean, I think that it serves a really strong purpose for us. You know, it creates a vibe
Right.
with us that I don't think a lot of artists could create the sound that they create without, you know, having to smoke something, you know, before they go in and lock in their creative space. You know, a lot of people aren't all that comfortable, you know, being around people. So it's also something that helps with levels of their anxiety and getting comfortable with other people the same way, you know, as an alternative to alcohol. You know, so it plays a lot of different roles versus just the kind of stereotypical, you know, I'm a rapper, you know, I smoke blunts, this, that, and the third. There are some people who really do showcase that there is a need for it in order for them to conduct everyday life.
Absolutely. And what are your favorite strains?
For me, I'm old school, man. I love, well, I won't say necessarily it's an old school, but it's one that I've definitely loved for a long time, which is just regular sour diesel. You know what I mean? That's definitely something I learned from rap music. You know what I mean? But in regards to, you know, being in those environments and having pretty much the endless supply of things to taste, you know, in regards to
Right.
cannabis, you know, that's definitely been one of the ones that's always stood out to me. You know, Blue Dream was also a good one, and also Purple Popcorn.
Okay. And if you were a weed strain, what strain would you be?
I don't know. I'm a pretty low key guy, so I think I'd probably be some type of a hybrid. You know what I mean? You know, I'd be the strain that you probably end your day with. You know, you don't want to be too functional throughout the day with. You know what I mean? You want to just kind of relax.
Nice, nice. All right. And then let's get to Emily. So Emily, um, you spoke last year in the Boston Freedom Rally, and you got a degree in Berkeley in music management, and you're a skilled vocalist. So how did cannabis help you throughout your whole process of being in Berkeley and doing the music management?
Well, it was really interesting because I actually didn't start consuming cannabis until I got to college. I actually spent my first year of college at University of Vermont, which is where I developed a fabulous relationship with cannabis. And then I made my way to Berkeley and realized how many different kinds of people enjoy cannabis. And that was displayed to me through the different genres of musicians that were into consuming cannabis. I was friends with jazz enthusiasts. I was friends with metalheads. I was friends with people who were more into hip hop. Like, and then there was the whole classical crowd that was much more demure, but they were still there. I found that it really helped to develop space in between the notes for me, because jazz is my genre of choice.
Nice.
And I found that it really helped me see the spaces, the opportunity for improvisation in between the notes. As a vocalist, that can be kind of hard sometimes because we're not hitting physical keys on a piano or on a saxophone or on a physical instrument. It's much more innate and intuitive. Right. And so I found that cannabis really helped me to be able to see opportunities for creativity and improvisation in between the notes.
All right. And it's the same question. What's your favorite strain?
Well, my favorite strain, I love the cheeses, like big Buddha cheese. I like things that will just knock me out. Over the years, I've become a little bit more anxious further on into my adult life. So now I use cannabis for different reasons than when I first began consuming it.
Nice.
So I go for the really dank, heavy on the sleepy terpenes strain.
Mm. And if you were a weed strain, what strain would you be?
So I have an alias. My weed name is Blue Dream Queen.
Oh, okay.
So, so
Okay.
yeah, Blue Dream used to be my favorite strain because at the time when I first started consuming cannabis, it gave me a lot of weed in general, just gave me a lot of energy. Now my body chemistry has changed, so my preferences have changed. But Blue Dream was one of my all-time favorite strains, and I like to, think that, when people are hanging out with me, they're having fun and things are going smoothly, kind of like a dream. My eyes are blue.
Yeah, that's awesome. Nice. And then we'll get to Lauren. Lauren, my co-host for Cannabis 101. So how important is music while you were working with the cannabis and doing all your stuff that you've been doing?
Well, I mean, I feel like having the background from KISS and kind of being in that industry, like I've always loved music, and cannabis has always been a part of my life recreationally and now as a medical patient. So kudos to Mass. But I feel like music is always a part of everyone's life, whether you're like working out, showering, cooking. And with that too, it's like maybe that strain that you're listening to that music with will influence how you're cooking. And there's so many ways that it impacts life, even for yoga. So, I mean, there's so many different ways that it really comes into play. But I really saw it when I was at KISS, and kind of what Emily said too, where she entered Berkeley and she saw all these different people of backgrounds of music. And that was the connection, like where you can vibe and still enjoy and kind of collaborate on these different types of music too, which I think it's beautiful. It's like art. I mean, it is art, but like making art where you collaborate digitally or anyway too. And we've been talking with like beat producers where someone hears a beat and maybe it has that like the sound of smoking and the lighter, and you know that you're going to direct that type of track in that certain way, or there's sirens, like you know what I'm saying, like it's that type of vibe where maybe it's more trap. But I've always just loved music, and cannabis has kind of weaved its way into that. And meeting you, doing Cannabis 101, it's kind of cool. Even Adam Souza, the guy from Urban Acres who is the CEO, he's starting his own music back up, and it's really like you realize, wow, there's different backgrounds to people, but they all overlap. So it's really cool. But yeah,
that's right. The owner for Cookies brand, Burner, he's a rapper too. So,
yeah, exactly.
So a lot of
Everyone's
people are
getting
into
their
music
hands,
and the cannabis. And what's your favorite strains, by the way?
Anything that is high energy. I like to smoke and then exercise or do yoga. So I usually gravitate towards a Durban Poison or something that has high energy, really. So that's kind of my choice.
That's what's up. And if you were a weed strain, what strain would you be?
It'd have to be something blondie with high HCV where you don't have munchies, honestly. That's the biggest thing. Like something maybe mango with that myrcene, and then you can have some mangoes with it, and it's a healthy snack. I'm all about that. That would be my strain. Maybe we can talk to Pete about that.
All right. And then now we'll get to Ariel Gray, the arts engagement producer for the Artery. Please tell us about the Artery.
She hasn't made it on yet.
Oh. Well, we're back here again with the panel. So let's talk about Brandon. What music do you listen to while you smoke? And what's your favorite song that you smoke to? Do you have one?
Not necessarily a favorite song to smoke to, but I think my favorite song that's, we related is Doobie Ashtray by Devin the Dude. I think that's one of like my favorite joints. Produced by DJ Premier. That's like one of my like top. You know what I mean? anything from, you know, Redman, he got a million of them. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I listen to a little bit of everything, to be honest. Like, not even just, you know what I'm saying, like hip hop. I listen to, you know what I'm saying, a little bit of, you know, of a little Caribbean music, a little reggae, whatever. Or I
Right.
listen to some, you know, it depends on, you know, what room I'm in typically, and especially with, you know, for what I do for work, it can usually be a variety of different types of music, but I don't really have anything specific. It's really about what I'm usually doing at the time that really influences that.
Right. And how about you, Emily? Do you have a favorite music that, like a song or something that you listen to every day while smoking to motivate you or something?
I'm not the kind of person who listens to like one song over and over. But I was just looking through my playlist here on Spotify, and I've got Gorillaz, I've got Massive Attack, I've got Bjork, I've got Prince, Run the Jewels, I've got some random Swedish rap, I've got some MIA, some John Brown's Body, 10-Foot Ganja Plants, Soul Rebel Project, Jurassic 5, 311, Cake, and it just keeps going on and on.
Wow,
Add a
that's a
little bit
nice,
of
that's a
country in
nice
there.
playlist. That's a nice playlist. You know, a lot of different genres of music too.
Yeah, and that's not even all of it. There's some ludicrous. I could go on and on. But yeah, I like to mix it up. And whenever I hear a song that I like that I've never heard before, I just open Shazam and add it to my playlist. And yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. And Lauren, how about you?
Hey, honestly, like what Emily, like I love what Emily said, like Run the Jewels and Ludacris, and again, too, I'm kind of all over the place. I do have like a few songs I love, like Stolen Dance by Milky Chance. Like, just, I feel like it's always a classic for me. It's kind of a go-to. And then there's this one girl that I really like. She's from Dallas, Texas. Her name's Tay Money. And I feel like her songs are just like cute jingles, and it's kind of just like fun rap. But yeah, I always kind of gravitate towards that type of vibe. But anything upbeat or happy or affirmations, I am good. Positive affirmations are always nice as well. But yeah, I always like something upbeat, really.
Nice. And what do you think, how does cannabis and music like relate together? Like, how do you, like, your
I mean,
perspective?
not to say that like rap music made me, I mean, it did influence us a lot. I feel like it's in so much music, and growing up to it's glorified, and it's really cool. I mean, it's in music, like it's in movies, and I think it's just also the experience too, where you see, oh, like Kid Cudi was probably my first like stoner like rap music that I absolutely loved. And when you actually smoked the joint in your friend's backseat of the car, and you're like, oh, I get this, and I always want this to be a part of my life. And it keeps you in a different energy, I guess. Where I just read something today too, from Rachel in the empath group, where it's a connection with spirit plant, and I feel like it's not talked about a lot, but in music with that, like it's still ingrained in there, and it's the spirit of the plant keeping it alive, and it's still its energy too in that sense. But yeah.
Nice. And what do you think, Emily? You know, music and cannabis, how it goes together, and how important and what role does cannabis take place in the music game?
Well, so cannabis and music go back millennia. People have been using cannabis in their rituals since the day humans evolved enough to have rituals. And when people are involved in a spiritual action, it usually involves music, some kind of rhythmic drumming or chanting. So there's kind of what seems to me to be an obvious connection between spirituality, music, and cannabis, because from day one they all started off together, kind of on the same foot.
Right.
And then we come to modern day, where cannabis was widely used in the jazz community in the 1920s and was then vilified because of that, because most, if not all, jazz musicians at that time were people of color. And it was, the connection between jazz and cannabis was viewed as so negative. And then along comes Bob Marley, who brings another spiritual cannabis music connection to the mainstream world. And kind of we go back full circle to the spiritual connection between cannabis music and mind-body spiritual awareness. So, I mean, to me, in my mind, the connection it's hard to explain because it's so obvious to me, and I'm sure to everybody on this panel. But I mean, my roots are in jazz, so I have a tendency to bring it back to jazz. And I know I said earlier that cannabis helps me to see the space in between the notes and to be able to be more creative. So those are my views on some of the connections between cannabis.
Yeah, and I heard all the jazz players used to smoke weed back in the days. That was like their main thing.
Yes, yeah, and it was, better than alcohol for them, because alcohol is such a depressant that these musicians had to be up on stage for hours and hours and hours, and you couldn't be constantly drinking alcohol during that time, or else you'd fall off the stage, you'd be too tired to perform well, and you wouldn't be as inspired. And then instead they started smoking reefer and really wowing the world with their music. But at the same time, the connection between people of color and consumption of cannabis was so negative that it just fueled cannabis prohibition as well. And then
exactly,
we had alcohol prohibition also, but the connection between race and ethnicity and cannabis consumption just completely vilified the plant.
Mm-hmm. And Brandon, working in the hip hop industry and with everyone, especially in the hip hop industry, how important is cannabis with a lot of artists and what you're doing?
I mean, I don't know if it's just an important thing. I think it's just a package deal. I don't think that there are many artists that I see that don't smoke. You know what I mean? And it's a part of their daily routine when they get up, when they're, in the car en route to the radio station or out to do a promo run or whatever it is that their daily activity is, something's getting sparked at some point throughout the day. And I think I see how agitated a lot of them are without it. So I think it also keeps everybody out of trouble. So I like it. You know what I mean? I think it, keeps the mood real calm. You know what I mean? Especially when you're out for long periods of time and you're asking a million questions every single day and you're in 4 and 5 radio stations and a meet and greet and a concert. And you know what I mean? Like, you just constantly have people after you. And then, you know what I mean? Like, that's typically your time that you can either try to take a nap or something else that can relax you. So, and it's communal, like a lot of relationships have been formed, you know what I mean, over a joint, over a blunt, you know what I mean, where someone was able to collaborate in music or a DJ with an artist or a producer or whatever the random scenarios are. Like, it's something that's brought people together in different places that wouldn't have probably even spoken until somebody pulled a bag out or, asked somebody else for a rollie or, whatever the case may be. Like, something that kind of was the icebreaker, that definitely served that purpose too.
Absolutely. And Emily, when you spoke last year at the Boston Freedom Rally, what tell the people what you were focused on.
Well, actually, I've never spoken at the Freedom Rally, so I think some wires got crossed there.
Okay. Never mind. All right. I'm sorry about that, but having a degree in Berkeley, when you went to Berkeley as a skilled vocalist and music management, now did you go in as doing music management or just as a skilled vocalist?
So when I entered Berkeley, I was going for just a degree in vocal performance. And then it was my last, before my second to last semester, I thought to myself, how can I capitalize more on my experience here and get the most out of this experience? And so I decided to tack on a second major. So I dual majored in vocal performance and music business management.
Nice. While you were going to school in Berkeley, was most of the people smoking?
You know, a lot of people smoked, but there were definitely groups of people who just didn't, and it wasn't because they looked down on anybody else for smoking. It was just not for them, and they had already experimented with it in high school or you know, some other time, and they had just decided that it wasn't for them. But it was so heavily ingrained in the going out culture, the nightlife culture, that that every musician is subject to participating in, that you know, if you were to choose to look down on somebody for consuming the plant, then there's a good chance that you might not be invited to
Okay.
places, because most of the shows, you know, yes, there were shows in bars and clubs, but those were the bigger gigs. Most of the time, when you were going to support friends who were in bands, playing shows in Alston, Brighton, Fenway, you know, all of the typical college areas, those were basement shows in people's houses that they were renting and living in with 10 roommates. And
Wow.
you were playing in a sweaty basement and, you know, raging or grooving or whatever genre it was that night. But, you know, if a band or, you know, or if people were just not in favor of cannabis, for the most part, they just kept it to themselves, and it was never made into a big deal. And then if they were offered it, they would just pass it along.
And
Yeah.
you also work for Coyote Cannabis Corporation team, which with Blake Messing.
Yes, with Blake Mensing. I believe he was on a panel earlier this week. He's a very skilled attorney.
Absolutely.
And I'm really lucky to be working with the group that I'm working with right now, Coyote. That team is absolutely incredible. Everybody works so hard, and we are really looking forward to all of this work paying off when we get to open our doors for manufacturing, crossing our fingers, in December.
Nice. And what else do you got coming up with that organization?
So I've been working really hard on building out the kitchen. That's my specialty, is infused products.
Right.
I have spent the last 5 years working in the legal industry in Massachusetts as an infusion production specialist, developing recipes and bringing products to market. So far, I've got about 40 or 50 products that I've brought to market in the medical and adult use markets. But so I'm working really hard on building an amazing kitchen so that we can bring craft edibles to the market in Massachusetts. And yeah, it's a passion of mine. I feel really lucky, and it's kind of like I wake up every day wondering, how did I get here? It was a 10-year goal of mine, and I reached my goal almost to the day, 10 years.
And now you're also doing consulting for people, correct?
Yes, I build kitchens. I design workflows. I select equipment. I work with architects and builders to build kitchens that can really elevate businesses to a level of success where they feel comfortable that they have succeeded, and that they're really making the best of their opportunity in Massachusetts. So that's another passion of mine, because I've always liked interior design and interior decorating. And that really lends itself well to the shapes that you need to create in a production workflow for a processing and manufacturing kitchen.
Nice. And Brandon, what do you got coming up that's new in your platform and your Killer Boombox?
So in regards to Killer Boombox, right now we've just been really focused on. We have a couple of announcements I can't necessarily say right now, but we have a couple of things that we will be announcing in the next 2 weeks. And then also we really just been having everybody really focused on our merch right now. We decided to launch some new stuff this summer, and it's been doing really well. So that's really been something that we've been focused on. On the marketing side of things, you know, just trying to make sure my clients are happy. And we've been doing a lot of these digital rollouts all summer. We've been doing a lot of like really intimate, like, you know, events with media and DJs and radio stations and stuff like that. Just kind of really making sure that these artists still have the ability to connect with the people that they need to connect with in regards to getting what they need for, you know, for support for their music. So things have been pretty good, you know, just learning the digital world a little bit more aggressively. Obviously, you know, me, you know, my skills are typically, you know, in person and in the streets. So,
Right.
you know, now trying to find a way to kind of balance, you know, both of those and stuff like that are really what's key. And then also just trying to make sure that the artists that I do work with have a good knowledge of like where things are going and the conversations that are, you know, being had right now within like the tech space. And, you know, because we're so reliant on social media and so reliant on things like Zoom and the different, you know, streaming platforms and you know, YouTube and stuff like that, we really need to have a stronger knowledge of how those things work and how we can monetize, and also, you know, things that are legal and illegal. So when you're dealing with DJs and, you know, just it's a lot of knowledge for, you know, a lot of people to have on top of being a creative. So, you know, one of the things that I like to do is to make sure they have access to those things. So when they are making their moves and trying to release music videos or put out bodies of work, you know, they have the right guidance of things that they need to be utilizing.
Right. Now, did you have to change a lot because of the this COVID? Like, change a lot of your marketing strategies?
I think everybody did. I think lucky for me, a lot more of my skill set is heavily reliant on the I hate using this word, but I guess the influencer category, because I deal primarily with DJs and media and stuff like that. So because I still had the opportunities where I took a few months and I had to figure out different things to utilize to create online experiences and stuff like that, because that wasn't typically something that I would do, you know, prior. Usually I would throw an in-person listening party, or I would do, I'd have an artist go and go visit radio stations or go to other things to do interviews. Whereas now everything is pretty much streaming from social networks, or, you know, you're creating some type of experience online that you want to get people to tap into, you know. So it's been a big learning year, but it did make everyone have to change. Every industry, every type of, you know, anything that was going on, everybody had to change up how they were doing it, with the exception of the people who were already, you know, focused on digital, you know, prior.
Right. And Lauren, and what are you getting into right now with your endeavors coming up? And then we'll get back into cannabis questions.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I'm actually kind of interested to ask Emily, like, from being in a production facility and being in that environment, I know, like, personally from High Purity, everyone's listening to music and like the DJing of that and the vibe of that too. I feel like that in itself is its own culture. It's in cannabis. It's cute how, I mean, people bring their podcasts in, and when I go in sometimes and I'm in the facility, I see like everyone like just dancing. And have you ever kind of been in that position too? I think it's so cool that, like, what's your point from there, I guess?
Oh, absolutely. I bought myself a beautiful Harman Kardon Bluetooth speaker specifically for that reason, because we were playing music super as loud as we could get it. We blew out one speaker, had to buy another. Music is a huge part of, you know, creating an environment where like you're okay spending the entire day literally stuck in a windowless room with maybe one, maybe two other people. Sometimes you're by yourself all day, every day, depending on the production needs for that week. But yeah, music plays a huge part in creating the rhythm of production, and just keep on keeping on, because sometimes you've got to produce 10,000 of one thing in one day, and if you didn't have the music on, you'd be scratching your eyeballs out. Like, you just you have to have that rhythm, and sometimes it needs to be created outside of your own brain, and, you know, fed to you while you're doing something else that your brain really needs to concentrate on, like, how much oil am I using in this batch?
Right.
Very true. I love that.
And do you guys see the crossover of you know, cannabis in the music industry and the movies, you know, lately? compared to alcohol and everything? And how much influence does cannabis have with music industry and the movie film industry right now?
I mean, you see it a lot more. It's not as, people don't look down on it the way they used to. It's really more of a common thing now, but I think it hasn't necessarily increased. I think people just don't have the same negative feelings about it as much. What I do see in the music industry is a lot more people investing in marijuana. That's the thing. With now you have brands that are, tying in with artists, and you have artists coming up with their own strains and stuff like that. Like, really what it is on that side, it's a whole new revenue stream for a lot of
Right,
people.
everyone's marketing it. From the marketing side, that's what you're in right now. Like, what do you think? A lot more people engaging, a lot more artists engaging with cannabis?
Yeah, I would say they definitely are. I don't
That's
think
like
they. Oh, my bad, go ahead.
that's like a new, because it's legal. That's like a new way for them to actually tie themselves into the cannabis world and actually market themselves with it.
Yeah,
Correct.
and it's built in, in regards to like what a lot of those things are, because these artists are already doing in-person activations, concerts, in stores, stuff like that. So now they have another opportunity to sell something that's a part of their brand, with something that typically brings people together. You look at artists like Snoop who are doing that now. They're out DJing at dispensaries, and you know what I mean, bringing people who probably would have never been in a space together all together for kind of really one purpose. You know what I mean? So it's cool. Like it's just a real positive thing now. It's just not looked at this thing that you have to put in some warehouse out of town that no one knows about. Like, you literally can go in almost any building, give or take. They're not, all weirded out by it.
It's really interesting too, because now that the landscape of the music industry has changed, from selling CDs and records back in the day, it's changed now to streaming. So it's a lot harder for musicians to make a huge impact financially on their bank statements.
Right.
So I think a lot of musicians, and then now with COVID and everything, tours have stopped too. And that was the primary method for generating revenue for artists. Once, streaming started, it was, okay, now we've got, what's the next revenue stream we can create or make bigger? Okay, it's touring and selling merch. And gaining social media followers. And now musicians are looking for lots of different revenue streams. And, it makes totally makes sense that they would go to the cannabis realm to, slap their name on a strain that's their favorite strain, or have somebody breed a special strain just for them. Willie Nelson's a good example. That makes total and complete sense. And he might have, I'm not sure, but was he the first musician to do that in the legal space?
I think he was.
Yeah, I think so. And it's been, he's been around for a while doing that. So it's been really interesting also just to take a step back and watch how these artists are creating new streams of revenue, especially because the landscape has changed for musicians.
Absolutely. Like in this end, like I said, we got a guy from the Wu-Tang Clan, Paris Smith from EPMD. We got Spliff Star. We got Keith Murray from Def Squad. Styles P from the Locks. They're all getting strains, and all these artists right now are looking for their own strains, looking to get into the cannabis world, like really, really hard, because of the fact that they're singing about it, rapping about it legally, and now they're marketing it through their music and their songs, where if you're part of that culture and you have your own strain, you're marketing your own strain.
Yeah. I mean, who would have thought we would have a show with Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart cooking together, and then it showcases music? I mean, that's where I even found out about Anderson .Paak, which I love him now. And like, it's a beautiful showcase, and you can tie so many things into it, cooking and music, and it's awesome. No, but I think even when you talk about TV, Broad City, that was the first time I saw girls smoke weed on TV, when Abby fell in the ditch or Alana and she smoked the joint. I freaked out in my dorm room. That was the coolest thing I've ever saw. And I said, okay, I'd love to be on a Comedy Central show doing that. That is so, it's so raw
Right.
and real. And I mean, Sarah Silverman has always talked about it, and it's actually, yeah, it's in comedy too. It's in everything, but those girls are so entwined with music and culture as well. It's etched in everything, but I just, yeah, like you said, it's new and exciting though.
Yeah, and you know,
It's
being in the
making its
music,
way into mainstream TV too, with sitcoms. And a friend of
absolutely.
mine alerted me to the CW, I guess I haven't seen these shows, but she says that the CW is inserting cannabis references into their shows as well, and not
Mm.
necessarily in a negative light. So for that to be happening, which, you know, the CW, I mean, you know,
That's a
really
family
young
network,
people watch that.
right?
It's a family network, and it's creating the normalization of cannabis in people's lives from an earlier age now. It's you know, I'm going to say it again, we've come full circle, because cannabis used to be a normal medicine that doctors prescribed in, you know, glass bottles that people go fishing in the river for now. But you know, we've come full circle. You know, we're on the right path finally.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think cannabis is definitely, you know, for medication, self-medication is the greatest thing in the world. And, you know, I talk to a lot of artists and they self-medicate themselves. So it's better for them to, you know, smoke weed than anything else. And now they're realizing, you know, what kind of cannabis suits them, you know. So they'll be like, I need this for this trip. I need this for late night, you know. So they know exactly what they're smoking while they're working, and late night when they're by themselves in the hotel or ready to go to sleep, they're smoking certain types. Before, everyone was just smoking, oh, give me that loud, not even knowing what to do. We'll be in the studio and they're falling asleep. And you're like, hey, you know, studio costs money. What are you doing? To them going, oh, I'm never smoking it again. To them smoking it the next day anyways, you know, because they're going to smoke. So now they're realizing what they want to smoke for creativeness, what they want to smoke to just relax, what they want to smoke if they want to be amped. And it's great to see all these artists and everyone in the music game understanding this now, instead of just saying, give me loud, you know?
Well, Jimmy, how about when you told Capadonna about CBD? You freaked out.
Yes. So, you know, Capadonna right now, we're doing some strain deals, and we told him about CBD because we wanted to do a CBD deal. And Capadonna thought CBD was a drug. And he's like, I'm not endorsing no drug. No CBD, no da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, Cap, we smoke trees every day. There's CBD in the trees that you're smoking. He's like, no, it's THC. It's marijuana. And I'm going, no, there's CBD in that too. What they did was they extracted it so there's no THC. So we started like explaining that to him. And they gave us, High Purity gave us a gift packet. He actually used it and he loves CBD. He's like, wow, CBD is amazing, Jimmy. You know, and we had to educate people on that. And I think that's great now that everyone kind of understands and can find out and educate themselves about cannabis and what it does to you.
Yeah, education is the name of the game, especially because of prohibition. Nobody knows about cannabis. Doctors don't know about cannabis. General population knows that it's a plant, but they don't know how it interacts with your body and your mind. And they don't
Right.
understand terpenes and the subtle nuances of every different strain. And so, yeah, education is absolutely key. And I think a lot of people are really excited to learn about cannabis because they haven't had the opportunity to be taught. Nobody knew
Right.
about it. They weren't taught about it in school, you know, not even in medical school. So I think we are in a really engaging and interesting point in history right now for so many different reasons, but especially in the cannabis world, you know, I feel really lucky to be here right now.
Oh, absolutely. You know, right now in the music game and the cannabis game tied in together, it's a once in a lifetime thing. You know, generations of wealth if we do this right and if you figure out the right way to do it. It's like the gold rush. It's like the oil rush. You know, it's one of those things right now, and you just got to capitalize it and understand how to do it right. so you don't mess up. You know, and a lot of artists right now are growing their own trees because it's a way of, what do they say? It's kind of like meditation. It's like, you know, they're growing it, just looking at it, not growing a lot, you know, just growing like some plants so they could just take care of it, to know that they're taking care of it. And they said it's it keeps them calm.
Jimmy,
You know?
who? Can you name some people? I'm interested.
Yeah, so like Spliff, Young Dirty,
Have
you
you seen
know,
these?
yeah, Keith Murray. They're all growing. They're just growing, but they said they grow it because it's like growing a bonsai tree. And I started making fun of them. I'm like, just because I'm Asian, you say bonsai tree? Like, come on. But no, they said, you know, they cut it, trim it. You know, they really, really like. They're telling me all this. They're really taking care of it, and it's they're enjoying the process of doing it.
Yeah, no, I believe it. I mean, they're actually, now that you say that, they have cannabis style like bonsai trees that you can groom and move the branches, and that is very meditative. Yeah, that's funny. Very cool. I would love to see
Absolutely.
a show of the rappers growing their own. That'd be very interesting, actually.
Yeah, they said it's very therapeutic.
I believe it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, there is
and
such a thing as garden therapy. That does exist because it does affect your brain, and it helps with depression and anxiety. So the two really go hand in hand. It makes total sense.
Emily, do you grow at all?
No, I
No?
tried one time. This was back when I was living with my parents in 2004, and I had a dry summer. And so I decided to give it a shot. I ended up growing two 12-foot tall, you know, they looked like gigantic bamboo shoots.
That's
Nothing, they didn't produce anything. But they were houseplants. Wonderful
Nice.
houseplants.
That
wow.
is cool.
I tried growing many times and I failed many times. So I let the pros do it. I'm good at finding people that are good at stuff. But Brandon, how do you see the future with your company, you know, moving along with cannabis and music, and with your artists and everything, trying to cross over or really getting involved with the cannabis game, or what do you think for the future of your company?
Well, I know one of the things we are looking into for the end of this year is really looking into offering more services to the cannabis community, just trying to create more pathways to connect the professional music scene, the indie music scene, and the cannabis, because this is where a lot more of the marketing and advertising components come in. There are so many restrictions on what cannabis companies can even do, and like what the age groups of the audiences have to be and all this other stuff. But you know, there's so much independent content that's coming out that, you know, finding ways to bring these brands together, and, you know, also knowing how to navigate those media spaces and stuff like that. I don't think a lot of those companies are really looking at things from those perspectives. So, you know, it's really going to be about proving a lot of concepts, because, you know, it's still such a new industry and nobody's really mastered any component because the laws changed. But I think it's going to be one of those things where I'm going to see myself getting calls for a lot of things in the cannabis industry, similar to like corporate, because they've really liked the way that things are done in the music scene. So they want to try to emulate those things into those industries as well. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes up, and, you know, what type of activations that I can put together. A lot of it is going to be a lot of first time things. You know, I've had a couple of clients already in the past that I've worked with, you know, like, you know, creating awareness for their new locations opening and stuff like that. So it's been cool to really learn a new industry too, that, you know, it's an industry where I'm essentially learning a lot of things over again from something that I've used for a long time. You know what I mean? It's really crazy.
And
It's like a reintroduction to it.
And for sponsorship wise, like, you know, now you don't have to reach out to other alcoholic companies only. You know, you have all these cannabis companies you could reach out to.
Yeah.
You know, added extra value, and I think that's what a lot of people are doing right now, because cannabis companies and dispensaries are really doing well, where they got a lot of money.
Yeah,
So
and even marketing dollars, they're high for these companies.
Absolutely. And that's just another avenue, especially for you, Brandon, in the
No
marketing
doubt.
to utilize that fully.
Yeah, no, I definitely plan on going after a lot of those companies, but I want to put a couple of solid things together for it first. I like to make sure that my services are unlike, anything else in at least my region. So once I'm ready to go, I'll definitely make sure you guys, will know help. Maybe I'll ask Boston Cannabis Week if they can help me with the announcement. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, Scott and Lisa's the best, huh?
No
And
doubt,
also,
no doubt.
where can they find you? Your Instagram, your website, and everything.
I send most of my attention to Killer Boombox, so it's Killer Boombox pretty much across the board on everything: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. That's primarily the main thing that I showcase. With me, I typically go find everybody else. So I keep it pretty quiet on the marketing side.
All right. And how about your Facebook and Instagram? Killer Boombox?
Everything across the board, Killer Boombox.
Perfect. And how about you, Emily? Where can people find you, and especially if they want to hire you for consultation for the Infusion Kitchen?
Sure. So I have my LinkedIn profile, Emily Elmen. That's ELMEN. And then on Facebook under the same name. And my Instagram is Boston's Better When Baked.
Boston what?
Boston's Better When Baked.
Nice, nice. And how about you, Lauren? Where can they find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Lauren Prey, and on Instagram at Lauren Prey, or if you do Facebook, laurenprey.5, you'll be able to find me. But you can find High Purity Natural Products and also find me from there as well. Or Cannabis 101, which we host.
Yep, and you can find her on Cannabis 101 on 97.9 FM Unity Radio every Wednesday at 1 o'clock, along with me co-hosting it.
Exactly.
Now, in the life that, tell me, the first time you ever smoked, when that experience.
Are you asking me?
Yes.
My mom and dad are watching. Well, first, this actually, speaking of, my mom grew this for me. So shout out to mom, actually. So she's come, actually, yeah, it's a whole 180. I was at a house party and my parents thought their parents were home, and it's the typical, you smoke for the first time out of the tin can.
How about you?
But yeah, don't judge me, people. Now I'm a highbrow cannabis enthusiast.
I am not going to judge your tin can because my favorite homemade piece that I ever made was out of a Pringles can. And
wow.
I would still use that today if I had to. It was absolutely brilliant. Worked like a charm. And then you just turn it around when it's on the shelf, totally inconspicuous, just turn it around and it's just a Pringles can. It's
wow.
Yeah. And that I made that when I was at the University of Vermont for my first year of college, which is where I smoked weed for the first time. And it was really funny too, because I went throughout high school. I was one of those kids who was like, oh, if you need drugs to have fun, you're such a loser, blah, blah, blah. And now I just cannot believe that was me. I was so young and didn't understand the world at all. And then I went to college and I decided I want to try cannabis. I want to try pot. I want to try weed. And we found this guy on campus and he realized it was my first time smoking ever. And so he just gave it to me for free. and so, yeah, we were in my dorm room, really terrified that I'd be found out, and blew it out the window. And that was the beginning of it all.
How about you, Brandon? What was your first experience and what you smoke out of?
Oh, man. I think I was 14. I was at my friend's birthday party, and me, my boy Quentin, and a couple of other homies from school smoked out of an apple. That was the first time we smoked weed. It was like his 14th birthday party or something like that. I don't know. It was like some homies I had since like elementary school. But yeah,
mine was when I was 16, and it was out of a 2-footed glass, straight glass bong, and it almost killed me. I didn't even know how to use it right. I blew the water out after, coughing in it. Bong water got everywhere.
Oh,
It's hard to get the bong water smell out of whatever it spills onto.
oh man, that's gotta be
Absolutely.
bad.
But you know what we need to do? We need to all get together and figure out how to do this together, since you know we're in the panel and everything for the Boston Cannabis Week. You know, so we're on to the music game, and we love smoking trees. So we should smoke some trees and sit down how we could work together.
I'm
That's a
down.
good
I'd love to
idea.
connect with you guys.
Absolutely. You know, and thanks to
One thing,
Scott
I
and
don't know if you
Lisa
guys
for
have
holding this.
noticed. Sorry, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but one of the things that I've seen popping up now during this COVID era is drive-ins, and the drive-ins are becoming concert venues now. And that's
Right.
one thing I'm really excited about, not just because everybody has been rooting for drive-ins to come back for decades now, but because it's an outdoor venue, people are going to, you know, there's high likelihood that people are going to be able to consume cannabis at some point in the very near future. You know, and we'll see how that goes. But that's one thing I'm really, really excited for.
Yes. And I think what? How many more minutes do we got, Scott?
Oh, you guys are good. You guys are good. This has been an amazing conversation.
Oh, awesome.
Thank you
Hey,
so
Karen.
much.
If you're wrapped up, Jimmy, we can wrap it. It's entirely up
Oh
to
no,
you.
we can still go. I know everyone else wants to. If they want to still go, I'm ready. Because I have a lot of other questions too. So Emily, I had a question for you, right? So while working with Blake Mensing, so what's the most important thing have you learned from him? I know he's a really, really great attorney in this game.
Well, one thing that I think that he and I have in common is that we are all about compliance and following the rules to the T and expecting others to do the same. And so it was great to learn that he was also into that because there's a lot of places getting away with a lot of stuff that is in violation of the regulations, and the regulations are put in place for a reason. Yes, Massachusetts is overregulated, but you know, we're all given the same book of rules. I think it's important to follow them so that everybody gets a shot at this dream, and you're not cutting corners and not, you know, taking too much from somebody else while trying to build your own empire or whatever your goal is. So that was one thing I was happy to learn when I started working with Blake. I had known that since before I had started working with Blake, but I'm just thrilled to be on his team and have him as a team member because we share the same values. And you know, operating a business with integrity and passion, and yeah, so I finally found the right team.
That's amazing. Doesn't it feel good when you found the right team? Now you know you can rely on some people that you can trust.
Oh, it's such a relief because I've worked in this industry in Massachusetts for a major player for the last I worked for them for 4 years, and you know, I was, you know, chastised for not trusting them, and then it turns out my instincts were correct. So I was, you know, and then I spent some time looking around to find my next opportunity, and I waited and waited and waited, and really did research on lots of different companies and interviewed, and I found through due diligence and through my networking connections, I found a position that I'm really excited about, a company that's going to grow to be hopefully a well-known name in the next 5 years. And I'm just thrilled to be a part of it and to be able to build another kitchen that I get to create in.
That's amazing. That's so like amazing how you went to Berkeley for a vocalist and, you know, to music management. Now you're making kitchens.
Yeah, it is really cool, but it also kind of makes sense because nobody in the cannabis space now started off in the cannabis space. because the industry is so new, because of prohibition, and because nobody, like I said, nobody knows anything about the plant, you know, now everybody who's working in the space now, it's almost impossible for them to have come from cannabis into cannabis. It's, you know, and a lot of people with other backgrounds are using those skills in the cannabis industry. Marketing is a great example. So yeah, that's just one skill that's being brought into the cannabis industry. I mean, I know chefs who are now infusion product chefs that had never worked with cannabis before but knew about bakery production. You know, people who have been in charge of operations of manufacturing facilities that manufactured car parts are now in charge of manufacturing in a cannabis facility. You know, the list goes on.
Absolutely. And I think the legalization of cannabis in a lot of states has been helping me out as a manager for traveling with the artists, because before it was about, oh man, we all smoke every day, so it's like, oh man, we might get arrested. Now we're not getting arrested. It makes a life a lot easier, and it helps out in this music industry a lot by legalizing cannabis, because most of the artists that I know smoke. And the only reason most of the time they get in trouble is because they were smoking marijuana. Now they don't have that problem in most places. And I think it's been a great, great thing and great journey to do all this. And let's see, with the Klan, like, we never really got in trouble with the Klan for smoking trees, because they like give us trees, so we smoke it, and we know. Well, we got kicked out of a lot of hotels.
I can relate to that. I got kicked out of the House of Blues because I had formed this group and we opened for the Mighty Mighty Bosstones for their hometown throwdown in December of 2010. And the manager that I was working with said, I asked him, like, can we smoke weed in the VIP room? Because they were giving us a VIP room.
Right.
And he was like, yeah, sure, no problem. Snoop was smoking weed in there last week, no problem. And so I'm like, great. And I've got my whole group in there, and we light up. And this was in the, shoot, I forget the VIP lounge in the House of Blues, but that's where it was, with very flammable walls, the quilts on the walls. But yeah, we almost got kicked out. So I can relate to that, but it didn't happen, but we came very close.
Right. They can't kick the Klan out, if they kick the Klan out, the show's over. So they just let us smoke everywhere we're at. So we got the leisure to do that. Even in when we went to Good Morning America, I remember we're in like a whole corporate setting and everyone's just lighting up when everyone's just like, okay, the Wu-Tang Clan's in the house. But they all came in and let us smoke in all the production rooms and everything. It was the craziest thing, where people are coming up to us and going, they would never let anyone do this. Like, this is amazing. So they're just saying that to us the whole time, while we're just blazing everywhere. But it's better than drinking, That's what they said too. They like people to smoke more than drink, because when they drink, they get aggressive or they want to be jerks. So I think it's a blessing in both ends. And Lauren,
yes, Jimmy.
So you're back on. So
Technical difficulties, but I'm here. No, it makes me think of actually, I'm gonna do the back. But it makes me think of being at KISS.
Nope, we lost your sound. Oh, there we go.
Okay. Oh, okay. It makes me think of like Fifth Harmony, when the girls are traveling and one of the girls, Lauren, actually got caught with weed, and that always, like, I did bring weed to a Kiss 108 Jingle Ball one time in hopes to be able to smoke with the girls, but that never happened. But that was always my little thing that I held. Sorry, I'm nervous in the studio, so I came into the studio. I'm gonna pop off.
Do you have any funny stories about getting in trouble with trees with your clients and stuff?
Ooh, yep. So the first national tour I ever went on, I'm gonna leave the who I was with and what company I was working for out of it, but let's just say I was working with a group of gentlemen, and I had a little bit of green on me, and at the end of the night, we got back home. The show was in Worcester, and everybody just separated after the show. So me and one of the guys from the tour went to go grab everybody because we were going to try to take off early. Had some words with an officer out there at a club trying to get my guys out, and he decided to arrest me. First time I ever got arrested, ever, for like a bag of, it wasn't even like a, I don't even know, it wasn't even like a gram. Like, it's crazy. I was literally just holding it. It was wild. And I got arrested.
Oh, man.
Just because he wanted to be funny. He was like, oh, you're on a tour bus. They're going to leave you. You're going to have to fly somewhere. He was just talking trash the whole night. It was kind of funny because the bus was sitting out front at 4 a.m. when they, you know what I'm saying, when I got bailed. But it is what it is.
Right. So when I was managing Junior Reed, he smokes in every hotel too. So, you know, he's been doing this game for so long that he's not allowed in a lot of hotels because he used to just pay that $250 just to smoke. He pissed off at him when he leaves because they're like, yo, what the heck? He goes,
You got to, though.
We even got busted, almost got kicked out of a cruise ship because he thought it was smart to smoke inside his room in a cruise ship, not knowing all the vents are connected. The whole cruise ship smelled like marijuana. So the next stop we had, they searched his room and everything, like, you know, but he flushed everything down the toilet, and he was smoking a cigarette when they came. He's like, I'm smoking cigarettes. They're like, we smell marijuana. So obviously we had to pay an $850 fine for that one. That was a hefty one. You know,
yeah, I've
and
definitely done that a lot.
And it's so tempting, right? So like when we travel with the clan and especially Junior Reed, when in the green rooms, all these people come and give us weed. They give us like quarter pound of like their finest, what they grow, especially in the West Coast. They're just giving it to us, like to just come to the green room like we got a present. You know, by the end of the show, we got like 3 pounds, 4 pounds, and we're like, what are we gonna do? So we just throw it out to the crowd or give it to people and just take a handful for our next show because we get the same thing for the next show, right? And one time we went to Canada by accident.
Oh,
after
man.
a show in Vermont, we had another show in Chicago, and navigation took us, I guess, to Canada, and all of us had weed. Next thing you see is Canada, 2 miles, and you can't, no U-turn, no nothing. You have to go over the border. You just see everyone going through all their shit, throwing all the trees out the window, right?
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about Canada because that's like the worst state to try to go to with weed. Oh, man. That's the wildest place to go.
And then when you get there, the weed that is available to you is awful. The legal weed is awful.
Yep.
It's unsmokable. Unsmokable.
Wow.
Canada. You know how many artists I've seen leave tours, like going into Canada, they got 2 or 3 dates there. They got to meet them at the next U.S. stop because they don't allow like certain, you know, saying crimes, you know, and then obviously anybody with anything crazy with weed, like that's been an issue for a lot of people in music for quite a while. Actually, like it literally does separate the team sometimes, or it dictates who can really be on the road based on what countries and what places, you know, they go.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
just
and for
because
some
you got
artists,
busted, just because you got busted for smoking trees, or like you got busted for drunk driving back in the days, they won't let you into Canada because of that. It's so weird. You know, I got
tight.
That
I
was
was going
horrible.
to say that it makes total sense that musicians would want to base their tour schedule on where weed's legal, because for a lot of artists, cannabis is a performance-enhancing substance.
Absolutely. Wu-Tang Clan turned down so many shows because we know if we go there, there's no weed. Like even to Dubai, We already went to Dubai. We don't need to go to Dubai again. They don't let you smoke. They try to give us sheesh to smoke. Like, what?
Yeah.
You know? And then Russia. Russia's okay, but not a lot of clan members like to go to Russia, especially like Matt. He hates Russia because you can't smoke. So there's certain places in the country that, in the world that artists won't want to go to do shows because they can't smoke. Yeah, because once you get a lot of shows, it's a preference of where you want to go. Why do you want to go to another country and be uncomfortable and maybe try to score some weed where you could go to jail? Not happening.
It all depends on the bag though, because somebody's giving you something crazy and it's like, you know what, 24 hours you can't smoke. You about to walk out with a crazy bag. Sometimes you just gotta have some business sense and some tolerance and be like, you know what, let me go get that bag. You know.
Man, let me tell you something, right? So these dudes in the clan, they don't care about the bag because they already got the bag.
No doubt. You can do that after like 20-something years, though. You can't do it in year 1 and 2. You gotta go. You gotta go get that. Like
$250, $300,000 bag just because they can't smoke. It's crazy. They'll be like, nah, next country.
Yeah, you can do that when you're a legend. Not everybody can be like, you know what? I don't want that $250,000. I can't smoke. Nah, I'm just gonna not smoke for a couple days. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Even when we're doing the whole tour this year with the clan, last year with the clan, we had a lot of shows and we turned down so many shows because you can't smoke there. And that's when I start learning, like, yo, you guys are just, what? Who cares about not being able to smoke for a day? You just flying there, grabbing that $250,000 and coming back. What's wrong with you guys? Nah, we're not going there. Book another show that day. It's like, what? But cannabis does, to some people and some musicians, to them, they need it. Like, I feel like, because it calms them down, it's part of the culture. And I feel like cannabis became a culture for hip hop. Even if like people don't smoke, they're just smoking blunts just to be cool, not knowing what they're smoking. Some people pass out all the time, trying to be cool, trying to keep up with me smoking. Little bit do they know I smoke sativa during the day. So even in this game, I think with the music, cannabis, and the media, this crossover game is going to help all of us out. And it's going to another avenue for us to get sponsorships and another avenue to make money off. And right now, if we do it right, like I said, it's generations of wealth. It's happening only one time in our lifetime right now, where we could become multi-millionaires to multi-billionaires if we do this right. What do you think, Lauren? Yeah. Okay.
No, I agree. I feel bad that this kickback. Can I help on you?
We're socially distanced over here. Yeah. Still over here. But I agree. One, it's just been an honor to be in the industry, and you always see news. I mean, we haven't had events in a while, but what were all the events before when we'd go to Sensi events? And there's music, and Leon Drucker would throw the best party ever, and there's it's art, it's everything entwined, and we don't really have that now, but it's going to be a big thing. Even the CBD industry, it's projected to be a multi-billion-dollar industry, and it continues to grow. But yeah, do you guys miss the events at all? I'm kind of sad that we're still like socially distanced, and to me, still socially distanced over here at yeah. Emily?
It's definitely strange to not be going to physical events all throughout September, October, November, because that's just been such a huge part of my life for the last like 5 years or so. And it's where I've met some of the most amazing people that I know now in the industry. So yeah, I miss the events. There's a lot to learn at them too. All of the panel discussions and different seminars you can attend are really usually quite beneficial. And it also, like, you kind of get an opportunity to learn in person all the cut and dry, boring stuff about the financials and how to invest properly. You know, for a lot of people, that's a little bit less of a creative outlet, not super interesting. But when you're just walking past a room and you overhear a sentence that grabs you and pulls you in, you end up learning something inadvertently that you weren't planning on for that in that moment, and it just sort of happened organically. I do really miss that. And then of course the mixers afterwards are a great opportunity to network with people. The virtual stuff is just, it's great, but it's just not the same.
Absolutely. You're definitely right on that.
Can I chime in on this?
Yes, you can.
This is funny because I was just talking with someone in the industry the other day who sat down and really thought about why he missed cannabis events and stuff at the Heinz Convention Center and NECAN and NCIA and everybody who shows up in town. And he said, you know what I miss? I don't miss the actual conference. I miss standing outside smoking weed with you guys.
Yep.
I don't miss walking the floor. I don't miss shaking hands. I don't necessarily miss like having to wear Spanx and heels all day. But like I miss standing outside smoking pot with you guys.
Yeah,
I definitely miss being out in the world. That was a primary focus of my business is, you know, throwing special activations and promoting special activations and really putting, you know, people in rooms and stuff like that. So I definitely missed like, you know, the connection building and seeing certain things come from a relationship happening at an event and stuff like that. I also miss crowds and like high traffic locations. Like I miss going to big shows with 20,000 people and, you know, stuff like that. You know, those days are, you know, some of my best days. I've been going to concerts consistently for, I think, 17 years. So it's just like a part of my life. So it feels kind of weird to have like this crazy break, but I'm definitely not mad at it either.
I was definitely talking to a teenage female recently about the fact that she is, we don't know when she's ever going to get to go to a nightclub and like let loose and sneak in with a fake ID. Like if there's no nightclub, there's no sneaking in with fake IDs. So, Jimmy, thank you so much. This has been such a wonderful, fun, entertaining conversation about music and all of your different perspectives and how it's relating to the cannabis space and our culture and everything else. Like, seriously, thank you guys so much for coming out tonight and having this conversation.
Yeah, I want to say thank you to
fun.
Lauren, Emily, and Brandon, and yeah, we all definitely got to get together too.
Yeah,
and you know, I want to thank
Yeah.
Scott and obviously Kara and my co-host Lauren.
Thank you guys so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us. You guys are wonderful, and anything you guys want to do, I'll support you guys 110%. You already know.
Careful what you wish for.
Jimmy, thank you
I
so
saw
much.
that boat on your Instagram. I saw that boat. You be careful what you wish for.
I'll be hitting you up
And
when
now
it's
we
my
all know about
birthday.
the boat.
Oh, it looked like fun.
My birthday's in
Absolutely.
January, Jimmy, in case you want to do a yacht for my birthday. Just saying.
All right, let's go.
I'm there. My birthday's in
Oh, we
January.
doing birthdays?
I'll go with you. It's a twofer.
All right,
Hold
That
on,
was
we doing birthdays. Mine's
Capadonna's
in 2
birthday. They
weeks.
were out
What's
there
up?
for the other day, so.
Yeah, we had a really great time.
Do we all suddenly have birthdays in January?
Yeah, because
Oh,
you're
no,
right
no,
at the
no,
end of
no,
December,
no.
so you should count.
Yes. We could set it up to go January, go on the yacht. It'll be nice and warm too. It's in Cali.
Oh, sweet.
Well, Jimmy, thank you so much. Let me just step in real quick, guys. And, you know, just before we wrap up, I want to, you know, say thank you to each and every one of you. This was a great discussion tonight. It was a lot of fun. I know a lot of people enjoyed it. Just want to let people know who are watching now, we have one more panel to go tomorrow night, and this is going to be a really good one. Thank you to Elevate Northeast for allowing us to make this part of Boston Cannabis Week, as they are partnered with National Expungement Week. And tomorrow night's panel is about elevating the reentry conversation. We'll be talking about expungement, moderated by Tashonda Vincent Lee, with panelists Calvin Feliciano, Susan Lay, Davo Jefferson, and Bethany Serrata. So that's going to be a real important conversation to have. People trying to get their records expunged, and a lot of people don't even know where to start. And I know I'm going to be glued to that one tomorrow as, somebody that with a past cannabis arrest myself and a record, I'd like to know what my options are. Not that I really care. I mean, I wear that like a badge of honor myself, but for a lot of people, it's an impediment for employment, and it's a very important conversation to have. So
yeah, one thing, I want to salute the Boston Cannabis Week, because you guys are still doing your thing, and
Yep.
I'm happy you guys are doing it through this pandemic and figured out a way to do it through and jumping over all the obstacles. Amazing.
Thank you. It was important for us to be able to bring people a little bit of normalcy, through all of this, and we can't wait till we can be back in person. And all of our sponsors, we wouldn't be able to do it without any of them. Experience Creative, Boston Hemp Company, MCR Labs, High Identity, Western Front, who's a new sponsor this year, who is an economic empowerment dispensary that's going to be opening in Chelsea, which is a really cool thing to have them part of this. Elevate Northeast, Kara, and the girls at Elevate do such an amazing job with the education for us. Underground Culture gave away some great things earlier today. Our friends at Hot 96.9, Berkshire Roots, another Boston-based dispensary, open in East Boston now. Rhythm and Raps, Nissen Co. Packs. We're going to be sending out packs to all you guys, along with some T-shirts and stuff at the end. And Trill Fit, don't forget, on Sunday, we got Trill Fit putting on a little exercise thing. Going to be fantastic. So thank you again, everybody. So I guess we'll see you all.
I'd just like to say one more thing.
Sure.
One of the comments on the live feed was from somebody who said, in reference to me talking about the importance of staying in compliance and following the rules. And he says, we are all given the same book of rules and not all are treated the same though. So I think it's important to just remind people to support minority-owned businesses and craft cannabis. And thank you to Boston Cannabis Week. And it's been a long time since I've talked about music, so I had a great time.
Thank you.
I had a really great time too. This was amazing.
It was a blast. Thank you all.
Looking forward to seeing all you guys in person.
It was an honor.
Everybody bring their favorite strain.
That's right.
Bring the Durban.
All right. Take care, everyone. Thank you for tuning in again. Everybody have a great night.
Peace.
Night.
Peace. Have a good night. Stay safe.